This video will change the way that you think about porn. We've talked about porn from the individual problem. 98% of men are dealing with this on an ongoing basis. Distraction, sapping your energy, something you need to quit. It's addictive, the internet dopamine. But something that we haven't talked about too much that's going to expand your understanding of porn is looking at it from a historical, sociological, technical perspective. A little bit of philosophy in here, a little bit of inference, a little bit of prediction for the future. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Welcome in, fam. Much love, Travier, and keep watching. So let's start with the history of porn. Porn as we know it is a modern invention. Mass media started with the printing press about 500 years ago, something like that. But mass video is relatively new, especially internet video is 25 years old at the oldest. And at the newest, we've only had consumer cell phones, smartphones for 15 years. Pornhub's been around for about 10 years. So we're looking at really new technology. In the past, certainly people looked at porn, but not nearly as much, not as many hours. People aren't as immersed in it. And we don't have the data on this, but we could guess that more men are masturbating than in the past, than the pre-porn times, the tens of thousands of years. Also because masturbation takes energy, so it's a sign of basically having resources in abundance. Now, what's interesting, so there's some certain interesting things. In general, a single man has higher testosterone than a man who's in a relationship. In general, when you ejaculate, it brings your testosterone down, and this is one of the reasons you may want to quit, because you may want to have higher testosterone. You may want to have more aggression, because aggression is going to drive you to go out in the world and be competitive, and to compete for a mate, compete for scarce resources, and to also sublimate into your work, to your art. It's not necessarily just physical violence, but through accruing resources, through creating artwork, through creating inventions, and so on. So something that interesting that happens when we have a large portion of the population on chronic porn and masturbation is the testosterone of the general population goes down. And we see this in the shape of men today, right? Testosterone is more, you see it in your body, it's a muscle builder. We have so many soft and flabby men, and if this describes you, just it's okay. Keep listening. You're going to understand. Understanding what's happening is going to help you. So, something interesting that a lot of people don't know that I've shared with you a couple times on this channel is the birth rate is not 1-to-1. There's between 105 and 107 men born in the world for every 100 women. So, if there's 100 20-year-old women, there's 105 20-year-old men. There's 5 extra dudes. And when you zoom out globally, where there's 7 billion people, there's something like 40 million extra dudes between 20 and 30. What sort of problems could that have? Well, historically, and this is in the animal world, not just in the male world, oftentimes the men will compete and kill each other. This is a lot of the impetus of war. Is there's all these millions and extra of lonely extra dudes in the world, and these lonely extra dudes go out and kill other lonely dudes, and they commit sexual violence against the surviving women, and they come home and they take wives and they have a big baby boom. There's a lot of peace after World War II. There was a lot of death of lonely dudes in World War II. Of course, there's civilian casualties. Women and children often die at war, but it's generally the lonely dudes or the impetus, high aggression. So something interesting that we've seen is a lot of you know that there's more women than men in the world because men tend to kill each other in higher numbers through violence, also through risk, through disease, just through risk taking because it's sort of the balancing act. Well, that's not true anymore. As of 2018, now 2019, now 2020, there's more men than women in the world. Men are dying at a less rate. Why is that? Hard to say, but one possibility is because of the war casualties are now modern incels, involuntarily celibate. The men who would have the higher aggression because they're single would go to war, and this would balance the population. But porn has a pacifying effect. It has a pacifying effect on you, the individual, right, taking your motivation. It has a pacifying effect on the general population of these men who now feel like they're satisfied even though they don't have to do anything. I don't have to go to war. I have porn. So there's a couple different possibilities for the future. One is, first of all, a lot of people will get to pair up and a lot of people won't get to pair up. So we may be at a tipping point. It's possible that more men than women, right now there's more men than women in the world, not just at the birth rate, but overall, that could be a technical indicator that there's going to be more war, there's going to be more conflict. And that's just part of the masculine testosterone, the masculine energy. And it's not just humans. I keep sheep. The men ram each other, the men fight each other. At times in the animal world, the men will kill each other. The women don't behave in the same way. Okay? So it's possible we're gonna see that in our lifetime. We're gonna hit a tipping point. There's too many men, too many lonely dudes. They join up, they join the army, they join militias, they get angry, they get depressed, they act out. You might be able to relate to this. You might know someone who they're sucked into the porn world, they have no job, their fitness is trash, they're unhappy. What are they gonna do? What are their options? Violence. Why do so many men turn to violence in these situations? Another possibility is we look at the technological advancement and trajectory of porn. So it went from basically nothing to maybe oral tradition, probably not, to the printing press sort of started to allow some stuff in the past 100 years, and especially with color printing, we have more. And then with the advent of movies in the past 100 years, and then consumer video, and then consumer smartphones in the past 10 years, we're heading towards augmented reality and virtual reality. It's already here. Porn headsets. So you're gonna have a class difference. You have the people who have good lives. They live in a nice place. They have partners. They like their life. Maybe they live in the country. They're not gonna go into the augmented reality. They're not gonna go into the virtual reality because they're immersed in their own life. But then you have this class of people, and they might be higher class financially, but they're city goers, they're extra, it's public transportation, it's your home cube to your office cube. These, especially the lower class and the have-nots, are going to turn more and more to artificial reality and virtual reality, especially as the technological is naturally deflationary. The price comes down, it becomes more accessible. Poor people be able to afford. Poor people can afford cell phones that are more powerful than a computer was 20 years ago, right? More powerful than the biggest supercomputer is affordable. Technology has a doubling effect. So it's not going to be long till immersive virtual reality and alternate reality is accessible to the masses. And when that happens, it's going to be more tempting than ever for men, especially to go into the porn world and to stay in the porn world, because in real life they're extra. So maybe we see more war, maybe we see more violence, or maybe we see a class of men who are pacified and they don't care, they're okay with it. What do you think's going to happen? If you have predictions for the future, comment down below. It's hard to predict the future. There's black swan events that we cannot predict. There could be an asteroid that hits, major earthquake, volcano, certain wars, COVID-19, all kinds of things happening that we can't predict. So it's not a very easy thing to do, but if you have a prediction on the future, it'd be interesting, share it. What does it mean for you? For you, I urge you to not go into the virtual reality world, into the AR world. I'm not telling you to commit violence. I'm telling you to channel your energy into competition of creating art and sharing and helping and progressing technology and innovation and putting your resources into that domain. And you're gonna become a real life winner who doesn't need that to go into AR world, doesn't need to go into VR world. Someone who has a nice life. And in order to do that, you need to cut off the virtual reality, cut off the augmented reality, cut off the porn, and say, I'm committed to having a good life in real life right now. So if you commit to do that, hit the thumbs up button, if you found that interesting, sort of an interesting discussion. If you want more, also let me know you made it to the end. If you found it super interesting and you made it to the end, please comment down below if you want more sort of big picture and philosophy. I think it's helpful because it helps you understand sort of what's going on and the machinations of the world, tells you what to do individually. I'm only 30, so give me another 20 years and I'll be a lot more learned and better read, but I am a voracious reader and I'm reading all these books and synthesizing all these ideas, and I've read maybe 1,000 books. There's so many more books, there's so many gaps in my knowledge, but I also know that it's more than the average person, so I have more than average to share on not just the same repetitive quit this, quit that, but also on trends and philosophy and prediction, and I'm happy to do more of that if it's requested. So if you think that's interesting, please let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you think this is going to help someone, please share it with someone. Share it with your little brother, share it with your friend, share it to your Twitter, your Facebook, whatever. Appreciate that. Okay? Thank you. Talk to you soon. Peace.